you ever met someone, okay, who's made you feel more interesting, more insightful, and even more just you, yourself, just by being around them? That's the magic of reverse charisma, okay? And we often assume that we need to be the most magnetic person, that we need to be the most captivating person in the room, who's the best storyteller, the most knowledgeable, has the loudest presence. But what if the secret to real charisma isn't about how interesting you are, but how interesting you make others feel? See the difference? And today, we're diving into the concept of reverse charisma that completely flipped my perspective. I'm telling you, a complete 180 on social interactions, friendships, and even networking. And this idea comes from Chris Williamson, who many of you may know, but you'll recognize it in the best people that you've ever met. And by the end of this episode, you'll have new ways to think about connection, charisma, and how to cultivate presence without potentially even saying a word. So welcome back to Decoding Wisdom, guys. I'm your host, Sachin Jha, where we blend timeless philosophies with modern insights to help both me and you live high-performing and meaningful lives. And today we are talking about something that might change how you think about being interesting. We'll explore what reverse charisma is and why it actually makes people magnetic, the psychology behind why some people make us feel boring while others make us feel fascinating, and how can we actually develop the skill to become more effortlessly charismatic without trying to be the most entertaining person in the room. So this episode will challenge everything you know about social presence. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. So what is reverse charisma? Well, Chris Williamson coined this idea based on a story about Winston Churchill's mother. She had dinner with two rival politicians, Benjamin Disraeli and William Gladstone, on consecutive nights. And when she was asked about her experience, she quote-unquote said that after dining with Gladstone, I thought he was the cleverest man in England, but after dining with Disraeli, I thought I was the cleverest woman in England. That right there is the essence of reverse charisma. Some people impress you with how interesting they are, totally fair, but others impress you by making you feel more interesting. So that got me curious, what's the psychology behind this, right? Why do certain people make us feel like we have nothing to say, while others make us feel full of stories and ideas? And what I think is that social interactions aren't about how engaging you are, they're about how engaged you make others feel. And we often feel like people who reflect our best selves back to us. That's what we want. And the best conversationalists aren't just talkers. They're curious, they're patient, and encouraging. And there's a study that shows that when a person was instructed to keep a stranger talking throughout this flight, but without revealing anything about themselves, the stranger after the flight described that person as one of the most interesting people that they'd ever met in their life, despite learning nothing about them. So when they were asked, who were they? They didn't know. Where were they from? Didn't know. No idea. So that's how powerful reverse charisma can be. So how can we develop reverse charisma? And this is just my interpretation and ideas that I've come up with. The first one I believe is that you've got to be an environment, okay, for others to open up. So instead of waiting for your turn to speak, let's ask better questions, okay, and get comfortable with silence. Let people expand on their thoughts. Give them space and time to do that. The second is make people feel seen, not judged. People open up to those who don't make them feel like they need to edit or change themselves, okay? So the most magnetic people are the people who handle all aspects of you. So your quirks, your uncertainties, your highs, your lows, all of it. And then the third one is don't respond, encourage, okay? Reflect back on insights from what people say. Tease out deeper thoughts if you can with phrases like, that's interesting, I'd love to learn more, or tell me more. And the fourth one is focus on connection, not competition. We often get into the space of, oh, you did this, well, I've just upped you, I did this, okay? So imagine conversation like a tennis match. Instead of trying to hit the best shot every time, set the other person up for a great return. Try to make the most beautiful conversation, not the most impressive one, okay? All right, here's something to try then. Next time you're in a conversation, flip the focus. The attention should not be on you, it should be on the other person. So instead of thinking about what next to say, I often struggle with that sometimes, focus entirely on making the other person feel fascinating. Test it out. See if they talk more, if they open up potentially. See if they leave the conversation feeling lighter, brighter, or more understood. And I'd love to hear how this goes for you. So drop a comment or DM me on Instagram with your experience. I find the space really fascinating. But here's the biggest takeaway though. Some people feel interesting. Some people make others feel interesting. And the latter are often the ones we love being around the most. Just think about it. Your best friends, why do you like them? Because more often or not, they make you feel valued. They make you feel that you're interesting to society. Does that make sense? So, and what they're essentially showcasing right there is reverse charisma. So reverse charisma isn't about impressing others. It's about making them feel seen, heard, and valued. And ironically, the more you make others feel interesting, the more magnetic you become. So if this episode has given you something to think about, share it with a friend who always makes you feel interesting, right? And if you want to keep decoding wisdom together, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.